Hagar's story begins in the heart of a powerful family. She was a servant in the household of Abram and his wife, Sarai. Abram and Sarai were chosen by God to become the father and mother of a great nation. However, Sarai was unable to have children. In that time, it was common for a woman to offer her servant to her husband to have children. Sarai, desperate for a child, offered Hagar to Abram. Hagar found herself caught in a difficult situation. She was a servant, expected to obey her mistress. She had little choice but to agree to Sarai's plan. Life in Abram's household was about to change dramatically for Hagar. She carried the weight of Sarai's expectations and the uncertainty of her own future. Little did she know that her story would become a testament to God's faithfulness and love, even in the most challenging circumstances. Hagar soon found herself pregnant with Abram's child. This brought joy to Abram, but it ignited jealousy in Sarai's heart. Sarai took out her frustration on Hagar, treating her harshly. The once hopeful atmosphere in the household became filled with tension and resentment. Unable to bear the mistreatment any longer, Hagar fled into the wilderness. Alone and pregnant, she sought refuge from Sarai's anger. The journey was perilous. The desert sun beat down on her. She was tired, hungry, and scared. Yet she clung to the hope of a better future for her unborn child. As she journeyed deeper into the wilderness, she stumbled upon a spring of water. There, in the quiet solitude, she encountered the divine presence that would change her life forever. Hagar, the runaway servant, was about to receive a message of hope and a promise for her future. As Hagar rested by the spring, an angel of the Lord appeared to her. The angel acknowledged her plight and offered words of comfort. He instructed her to return to Sarai and submit to her authority, promising that God had heard her cries. The angel then delivered a remarkable prophecy. He told Hagar that her son would be a wild and free man, a fierce warrior. His descendants would be too numerous to count. He would be named Ishmael, which means God hears, for God had heard Hagar's suffering. Hagar was overwhelmed by the encounter. She, a lowly servant, had been visited by God's messenger. He had promised her a future, not just for herself, but for her descendants. She returned to Abram and Sarai, her heart filled with both fear and hope. She carried within her not only a child, but also a promise from the Almighty. Hagar gave birth to a son, just as the angel had promised. They named him Ishmael. As Ishmael grew, Abram's love for his firstborn son deepened. He saw in Ishmael the fulfillment of God's promise. However, the tension between Sarai and Hagar remained. God, reaffirming his covenant with Abram, changed his name to Abraham and Sarai's name to Sarah. He promised Abraham that he would be the father of many nations. God specifically mentioned Ishmael, acknowledging him as Abraham's son and promising to make him a great nation. Despite the initial joy of Ishmael's birth, a shadow loomed over the family. God had also promised Abraham a son through Sarah, a son who would inherit the covenant. This promise, while a blessing, would eventually lead to heartache and conflict within Abraham's family. Years passed, and Sarah miraculously gave birth to a son, Isaac. With Isaac's arrival, the fragile peace in Abraham's household shattered. Sarah, fearing that Ishmael would rival Isaac for Abraham's inheritance, demanded that Abraham send Hagar and Ishmael away. Torn between his love for both his sons, Abraham faced an agonizing decision. God, however, instructed Abraham to listen to Sarah. He reassured Abraham that Ishmael would not be forgotten. He would become a great nation, just as he had promised. Abraham, though heartbroken, obeyed God's command. He sent Hagar and Ishmael away with provisions of bread and water. Hagar and her son once again found themselves cast out into the unforgiving wilderness. This time they were alone, facing an uncertain future. The desert was vast and unforgiving. Their supplies dwindled, and soon their water ran out. Hagar, desperate and heartbroken, couldn't bear to watch her son die. She placed Ishmael under a bush and went a short distance away, weeping in despair. God, however, had not abandoned them. He heard Ishmael's cries. The angel of the Lord appeared to Hagar once more, reassuring her that God had heard Ishmael and had a plan for his life. He opened her eyes and she saw a well of water. With renewed hope, Hagar filled her water skin and gave her son a much-needed drink. They survived in the wilderness, sustained by God's miraculous provision. Hagar had learned once again that even in the most desolate of circumstances, God was faithful to his promises. Hagar and Ishmael settled in the wilderness of Paran. Ishmael grew into a skilled archer, a testament to his strength and resilience. He married an Egyptian woman, and they had 12 sons. These sons became the leaders of 12 tribes, fulfilling God's promise to make Ishmael a great nation. Hagar, once a displaced servant, witnessed her sons rise to prominence. She saw the fulfillment of God's promise in her life and in the life of her son. Though she had faced hardship and rejection, she had also experienced God's unwavering faithfulness. Hagar's story, woven throughout the Genesis narrative, serves as a powerful reminder of God's heart for the marginalized and the oppressed. She stands as a testament to God's power to bring hope and restoration even in the face of adversity. Hagar's story is one of resilience, faith, and the unwavering love of God. She endured hardship and betrayal, yet she never lost sight of God's promises. Her journey from a servant in a foreign land to the mother of a great nation reveals the transformative power of faith. Hagar's story reminds us that God sees the plight of the marginalized and hears the cries of the oppressed. He is a God who keeps his promises, even when those promises seem impossible. He is a God who provides even in the most desolate of circumstances. As we reflect on Hagar's life, let us be encouraged by her unwavering faith and inspired by her resilience. Let us remember that God is a God of second chances, a God who works all things together for the good of those who love him. Hagar's story offers timeless lessons for all who find themselves facing challenges and uncertainties. Her experiences in the wilderness teach us about God's character and his heart for humanity. First, Hagar's story reminds us that God sees and hears the cries of the afflicted. Even when we feel alone and forgotten, God is aware of our pain. He is a God of compassion who draws near to the brokenhearted. Second, Hagar's story highlights God's faithfulness to his promises. Even when circumstances seem dire, God remains true to his word. His plans for our lives are greater than we can imagine, and he will work all things together for our good. Finally, Hagar's story teaches us about the importance of resilience and hope. Despite facing unimaginable hardships, Hagar never gave up. She clung to God's promises and trusted him to provide. Her story encourages us to persevere in faith, knowing that God is with us every step of the way.